Today is day 105. And I always say this, but I normally don't like saying the specific day of the week or the date in videos like this because I want them to always be applicable any time of the year, any day of the year. But the day today is kind of going to coincide with the topic. So today is Monday, and as we know, Mondays obviously can be difficult. Mondays can be a time where you're dragging, a time where you're trying to figure out what you've got going on during the week, and sometimes you can feel more exhausted on a Monday than you did even on Friday. And I think on Monday specifically, we have a decision to make on what are we going to do this week? I know it's a simple question, but what are we going to do in terms of not only just the events that we have on the calendar and our priorities, like with work and then our extracurricular events with ourselves, with our kids, etc. But beyond that, I think there still begs the question, like, what are we going to do with our rhythms and our patterns and our mindsets and what we're putting into our bodies and what we're doing physically? Are we perspiring? Are we sweating? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we loving the people around us well? Like, again, just the rhythms and the patterns of our week. You can contemplate that any day of the week, but specifically on a Monday, I think that reality oftentimes hits us, and we're faced with that, and a lot of us run from it, or we act like it doesn't exist, so we just keep doing the same rhythms and patterns that we've always done because we want to stay comfortable and we want to run from all the stress and anxiety and things that make us feel uncomfortable. But the excerpt that I want to read today, it's longer than a quote, but I've referenced this fellow before. His name's Alex Hermazi, and it's a LinkedIn post he made. He says, most people don't change. They live the same 6 months of their lives 100 times in a row. They go to the same places. They make the same jokes. They tell the same stories. They only talk about the past. They work the same job. You get the point. They live this life on repeat because they were never willing to live in uncomfortable situations. They were never willing to change. A lot of people get very uncomfortable when I talk about this, but this is the truth. The average person gets stuck in the same patterns for their entire lives. If you want to have a different outcome, you have to walk a different path. That can be uncomfortable for sure to think about for a lot of us. And I want to draw a very important delineation here is like, it's not always bad to be in the same rhythms and have loyalty and have consistency in your life. Like, I always say this, I'm not trying to encourage everyone to like quit their jobs and, go try to travel to the moon tomorrow. But because we live in a life that has so many different distractions and we live a life that tries to pull us away from growing, again, it can be good to be loyal and to do the same things in life at times, but in a lot of ways it can be actually really inhibiting to your growth mentally, physically, and spiritually. And that beginning of that excerpt really caught my attention. It's like most people will literally live the same 6-month patterns 100 times in a row. And I just want to be a person that is consistent in the patterns that are good. Like, again, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I want to be the same person on a Tuesday that I am on a Sunday and any time in between. And I want to live good rhythms there. But like, I also want to continue to pursue more and grow and make myself uncomfortable and overcome the challenges that have maybe gotten in my way in the past. In order to do that, you're going to have to try new things. You're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. So again, I think we're faced with this question, particularly on a Monday morning, of what are you going to do this week? Are you going to stick in the same patterns? Are you going to continue to be fearful of the things that have been pitfalls for you, things that have gotten in your path, things that have provided a lot of resistance to you in your life over the past month or year? Or are you finally going to step out and do something different? Are you finally going to proclaim that, hey, change needs to happen, and then act on that, making it today, not a tomorrow thing? That's real. We got a decision to make. And it can't be a decision that lasts 2 days. It's got to be a decision that you continue to show up and you continue to sustain the changes that you know you need to make in your life. So scripture today, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 12 through 15. And it says, "If you think you are standing strong, be careful not to fall. The temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, and God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, he will show you a way out so that you can endure. So my dear friends, flee from the worship of idols. You are reasonable people. Decide for yourselves if what I'm saying is true." And I was reading out of the New Living Translation because I've referenced these verses before from the NIV, and I think that NLT offers some interesting perspective. It just kind of hits me in a little bit of a different way. But again, it's the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience. We all have them, and we all have these propensities to get off track for some reason and to go the path of least resistance and to not do the hard thing. And then, but when you do that just time and time and time again, it can lead to just a long-term pattern of stagnation, and there's no growth in that. And I just don't want to be the person that when I'm 55, that my very best days and memories I'm talking about are from like high school. I want to be a person that is looking ahead to the possibilities of the future while being grounded in the present and actually doing something about making my future goals happen. Like that's the prospect of that's just exciting, and there's a lot of hope in that. And when you live that way, it goes back to yesterday's message. I know this is all connected, but it goes back to yesterday's message of like, if you live that way where you're actually working every single day to make your future goals happen, you're going to be so much less likely to like get caught up in the strife and caught up in the negativity that those verses in Proverbs 26 was talking about yesterday. You're not going to be nearly as willing to gossip and look down on others and point fingers at others when you are working so hard at making this life, this beautiful reality that we have happen. So that's real. Again, it's Monday. Don't be afraid to change the patterns, to break the patterns. It might get harder before it gets easier. There's going to be some failure along the way. It's going to be uncomfortable, but every day is an opportunity. make it today to change the patterns in your life so you're not living the same 6-month pattern 100 times over. And that's day 105.